Hey man, we're here at the Soldano shop with the legendary Michael Soldano. Mike Araiza here, and we're playing the brand new Soldano Hot Rod 25. It's not in a cabinet right now because it's being dressed, but Mike was cool enough to invite us down, and I've been playing this thing for a little bit. It sounds great. It truly is an SLO in a 25 watt package. All the tones that you'd expect to be there are there. Well, you know what? Let me stop talking. Let's play it. The guitar goes to 11, just like the amp.
Mike, why don't you let Michael kind of tone in some
Oh no, you're doing a much better job. I'm just gonna sit here and watch, man. I'm enjoying the hell out of this.
You don't want to twist some knobs there, Michael?
I don't want to twist knobs. Mike knows exactly what he wants that amp to do for him. So
all
I'm
right.
gonna let him twist his knobs.
How about a Keith Urban vibe?
Keith Urban?
Or a country vibe?
A lot of things that people don't understand about this amp is the versatility of the normal channel.
Yeah, it can do so much. It's amazing.
So, as an example, the Soldano, of course, is greatly known for the high gain, but the clean that it does provide, a spanky clean, lots of variable tones here. So we're going to pull the volume down on the normal channel, and we're going to pull up the output section to let it do its job, and the present section helps control the tonality of the output section. And we got the fan coming here, but that's all right. Spanky clean. Yep.
Right? Nobody knows that.
You don't need anything else. And this is a
Who'd
Les
have
Paul.
thought?
Yeah. This is a Les Paul with some distortion pickups in there. We're going to bring the preamp down a little bit more, and we're going to even add more.
Yeah, let's take that master up there a little.
And then we're going to pull down the mid a little bit and add a little bit of bass to compensate for the lack of gain. Tune it up. It's got the funk, it's got the clean, it's got everything. The brand new Soldano Hot Rod 25, built by Mr. Michael Soldano himself.
Thank you. His first SLO when I still had my shop in Hollywood. In fact, he came down to get it on Valentine's Day. Like, I can't remember what year that was. It must have been '89. And I was like, my girlfriend at the time had this like totally hot evening, all planned out. And Eddie's like, I want to come down and get one of those amps today. And I'm like, it's 4 o'clock, right? And I'm like, hey, it's 4 o'clock, it's Valentine's. I kind of got to go home and get a shower. I got things I got to do tonight. He goes, I can be there in a half an hour. And I'm thinking like, no, you can't. It's LA traffic. It's rush hour. It's cold. You live on Coldwater Canyon. I'm in Hollywood. Sure as shit, he was there by 5 o'clock. And he pulls up. He had one of those like, they were called Cyclone pickup truck. They were like the souped up Chevy pickup that they offered back in the late 80s or something. And they were pretty fast. I think they had like a 454 and a little pickup or something. He comes smoking into my parking area. And it's like, it's like, I can tell he had just been thrashing that thing the whole way to get there through traffic on time. And he showed up, and I, gave him. I said, "Here, take this home with you tonight." And I was like, "Gee, I can't imagine Valerie's gonna be pleased with you spending your evening playing this amp." But anyway, here you go, Eddie. He took off and called me next morning. And says, "I got to send you a check. I'm keeping this, and I want to get some more." So we kind of developed a little bit of a relationship. So when I moved my shop out to Van Nuys, he called me one day, and he goes, "Hey," he says, "you want to come by and see the studio?" So I got to go see, 5150 behind his house, and he showed me all his Lamborghinis, which were awesome. And he says, and by the way, he says, the Marshall needs to be retubed. And I'm like, the Marshall? He goes, yep, this is the one that I did all those records on. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, I get to finally see the secret of the sound. Oh, this is going to be so cool. I get to see the mods and all that. I get it back to my shop. I open it up. It's bone stock. There's not a mod in that amp. It's the most stock 68 Plexi I had ever seen. And I'm like, okay, so there's something to this, So I retubed it, put some new power tubes in it. Preamp tubes were still good, so I left them alone because they were some original old stock stuff. Took it to my test room, fired up, bam, hits me in the face like a ton of bricks. It's a big, loud, what you would expect out of a, pre-master volume Marshall, just big and loud and brash. And I'm like, that's not the sound. Of course, I don't have Eddie's hands, so obviously that's not going to ever happen. But
me neither.
But the thing is, I could tell, though, the tone wasn't there, So I'm like, God, how did he do that? And then I remember that he used to say in interviews that he used a Variac. But, of course, he always said in the interviews that he turned the amp up to like 140 volts. But, of course, you can't do that because it'll blow the filter caps out of it. But I'm thinking, like, I wonder if he put it on a Variac and turned it down. So I pulled my Variac in the test room, and I just plugged in the amp, and I just slowly kept, playing it, turning it down. And at about 90 volts or 88 volts, all of a sudden I'm like, and because the power's dropping so much, I'm able to keep turning the volumes up. And so I've got the thing pretty much dimed. I've got the volume wide open, and it's maybe making 35 watts at best. And it's And I'm like, well, I can't play any of those chops, but I've got the tone. It was the Brown sound. It was just that sagging low plate voltage on the power tubes, and it just all of a sudden compressed really nicely, and that was the tone. So I never forgot that. So when I decided to do this little amp, originally it was like my original thinking was like, okay, 25th anniversary, I got to do a 25 watt amp, but I didn't think beyond that. So my original plan was I was just going to use a pair of EL84s like I would use in any
Atomic 16.
Yeah, any low wattage like 25, 20-ish watt amp and call it good. But then I thought I should do something different. I should do 25 watts using a pair of 5881s, which would normally be what you'd use to build a 50 watt amp. And I'll variac it, but it'll be built in. So I had a custom wound, well, all my transformers are custom wound, but I had the power transformer wound with a really low B plus supply, so that my plate voltage on those 5881s is really low. And so it's the same as turning the amp down on a variac. So I've got this kind of like Brown sound power section now with my traditional SLO preamp. And I just figured it would have to be a great match, and it turned out pretty darn good.
Sounds freaking
I'm
great.
really happy with the results.
So it's in the windings of the transformer.
Yeah, so the transformer has it's basically your standard power transformer, but instead of putting about 450 volts on the plates of the power tubes like I would do to get 50 watts, I'm down around, I can't remember exactly, but I think I'm down around 310 volts on the plates. So the tubes are, even though they're capable of making 50 watts in a pair, they're only making 25 watts because they just run out of their headroom. Exactly. And then that's when you get that nice, soft, squishy power amp compression. And then by running a fairly large output transformer for 25 watts, that's a pretty good sized output transformer. That's as big as a lot of amps have for 50 watts. So by putting a big output transformer there with a lot of iron, it still has great bass response. That's why it'll still chug, even though it's only a 25 watt amp.
Yeah.
It's still got the chug in the low end. It's got the thunk that'll push the speakers and get the cones moving. And so it's a really nice balance, I think. I'm very happy with this amp, how it turned out.
Dude, I'm
and
blown away.
And like I say, and part of it was inspired by that whole Variac experience I had. I was like, this is what happens when you take big power tubes and run them at low voltage. You get this real natural compression. And this is a departure for me, because I've always been that guy that's been like, I never rely on the power amp for any of the amp's tone. It's like, it's all in the preamp, and all I want is a hi-fi power section. I've been telling people that for a million years, and that is true of almost all my designs. But on this one, I wanted to explore what would happen if you really pushed on the power tubes. And it worked out pretty good.
What's cool is, you don't have to go buy outboard
No.
stuff, and it really does do it. I mean, it's like, so we're on like one.
Yeah. I mean, that's totally, you can be watching TV and playing that and still hear the show, You can be noodling on the couch and your girlfriend would not be complaining,
Yeah.
And if you're in a park, you can have like a little 112 cabinet, have it set about that low, put a little microphone in front of there, maybe stick it in the closet for a little isolation.
Yeah.
And you could totally record what would sound like live big guitar sound in a very small space without pissing off the neighbors.
Dude, right here we're talking.
Yeah, we're talking over it, and it's still sounding killer, right? This is conversation volume.
That should be guitarist stage volume.
Yeah, right.
Oh, you're recording?
You singers, you're all the same.
Dude, I could play this thing for days, dude. I really.
You're only as good as your tools. I mean, you can have amazing chops, and you can't substitute that. You have to have that, has to be there. But why sell yourself short if you don't maximize what your ability is by not getting that sound out there? In other words, you might have the greatest chops in the world, but if you're playing a really hard to play guitar that's holding you back, or you've got an amp that's squeezing your tone down to nothing, you're not showing them who you really are. They're getting a tiny, compromised version of that. So yeah, you got to have the good, and the better you get, the better the tools you need, because the tools have to be able to rise to your
The
ability.
occasion, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, you know, I guess one approach that, you know, I'm a huge Kiss fan, and Gene Simmons always put a big value on the fans getting the most of the dollar.
Totally.
And that's why they have all the, that's why they invest in all the explosions and stuff like that.
Yep.
And they
Yep.
want the you know, the customer to get the most value of the ticket. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess one approach is the fans don't get a discount on their concert ticket. So why, you know, compromise on your gear?
Right. That's right.
Why
Exactly.
take a shortcut on your
Why?
gear?
Yeah, they're paying full pop. You should be giving them full pop. You
Full
know.
pop. And it can happen with any gear. But I've chosen to invest in this. We're going to listen. This is so much fun.
Cool.
Dude, I could do this all day, dude. Sing it, Jeff.
Do you remember me on the street of dreams?